This map shows the size of the Roman Empire by 117 CE. This is after a 600-year conquest. Let's imagine you look up in the sky and you see a cloud shaped like this. What does it look like to you? To me, it looks like a boot. This is Italy. This is the shape of Italy. This is the center of the Roman Empire. This is where it all began.
The Romans used their army to keep the enemies at bay, to force peace within the empire. This peace allowed the Romans to build and trade and share their knowledge with everyone around the Mediterranean.
I wonder what it must have been like to live in a world where you were constantly surrounded by an army, reminding you were constantly at war.
All roads lead to Rome. In fact, when the Roman Empire started to consolidate its power, it started building roads to connect city to city to city. In fact, you could be anywhere in the empire and just about find a road that would take you all the way to Rome, thus connecting every part of the empire with its capital. If you're building a city, you need water. And as the city of Rome grew and as many Roman cities grew, they needed a reliable water source. As the local rivers became more and more polluted and population grew, they realized that they needed to bring in fresh water. So aqueducts were built using the latest methods in concrete and arches. And they brought water from up to 100 miles away through mountains and valleys. Roman architecture is still with us today. On the left-hand side, you can see another arcade. The water, of course, would run along the top in an enclosed chamber or tube. And over to the right-hand side, you'll see a tunnel. Well, not quite a tunnel, but you'd see a covered trench. About 80% of the Romans built their aqueducts underground. This was, of course, to protect it from invaders who would like to cut off their water or poison their water supply. Roman architecture was made up of 5 parts. Most of it, of course, covered trenches, tunnels going through mountains. Oftentimes they'd have access shafts so they could send slaves down. In pressurized pipes, these were usually made out of lead, which brought other problems to the Roman society. And of course, bringing the water right to the town at the lowest levels would probably be an elevated wall, bunch of stone bricks laid on top of each other. But if it had to be higher than, say, 5 feet, you'd have to build an arcade. These, of course, were used to span valleys and ravines. Here we have our Roman town. It needs to grow, so it's going to need some water. But before building the town, they would have locked in some reservoir some 60, 70 miles away. Here we have a reservoir. They'll bring the water through covered trenches using gravity the whole way. These covered trenches, of course, will be dug and then buried. When they come to a ravine, if it's long, they might line it with lead pipes. This will allow water to go through and force it back up. Through mountains, we're going to have to dig straight through it using access shafts. We'll send our slaves through. Now, when we're starting to get to flat land, getting closer to the towns, we'll start using our arcades to slowly bring it down, eventually along to the walls, and then eventually to a cistern. This is where the water will then be, again, using gravity, sent out to the rest of the town. Rich people would get theirs brought directly to their house. Bathhouses would be supplied. And of course, the public would get their water using public fountains. These ran all the time.
The Colosseum took 8 years to build and was completed by 80 CE. It could hold up to 80,000 spectators. It was used for gladiator contests, animal hunts, executions, and reenactment of famous battles. All of this building success relied on one engineering feat, the arch.
An arch is composed of separate wedge-shaped blocks that are cut and fit into a curve. The blocks are held in place by a big wooden frame until they are locked together at the top with a keystone. The weight of the arch at the top presses down and pushes the sides outward. But when you support these sides, the outward forces are counteracted. Now the wooden frame can be moved because the entire structure is stable. The Romans didn't invent the arch, but when they realized its potential, they used it again and again to expand interior and exterior spaces and to literally carry water hundreds of miles if that is what was needed.